This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
Dropkick Murphys, exactly. Mosh pitting, they will be. Get out of there. Those people are maniacs. Anyway, a man that is never caught in a mosh pit is Cameron Wolfe. Correct, Cameron? You don't do the mosh pitting stuff, right?
Oh, no, that's definitely not my vibe.
I stand there and I watch them and I'm like, really? What is wrong with you people? Come on, man. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, I don't understand that one. That one's kind of weird. Anyway, your impressions on your meeting with Mike McDaniel this week and talking a little Tua.
Yeah, I think that, you can see why a lot of people were excited about him. Like, he's got a different way of communicating. And so that's what I'm most excited about. Like, you can talk about how he looks. He doesn't look like an NFL head coach. But like he's uniquely himself. He's witty. I'll tell you guys this. I flew on the same flight as him here to Miami. So we get off the plane and someone makes a comment about him having Louis Vuittons on as far as gear. And he jokes about how he wears things because, how he looks. And it was like, I couldn't tell if he was serious or if he was joking. But that's who he is. And so I'm enjoying to get to know him. As far as the Tua element of it, they've had full support on him, which is all I think a lot of people who are on the Tua non-crew have wanted, So I am excited to see what offense they put together around him. He's talked a lot about how he fits within that 49er scheme. So they already, put up a lot of cut-ups. They've watched a lot of tape, and they feel like, they've got an idea of, hey, how can we make this dude great? So that part of it, as a guy who thinks that Tua needs more time to develop, needs more time to get his opportunity, that gets me excited because this guy's had 4 or 5 OCs in the last 4 or 5 years. So, if this system is truly the right one for him, then maybe we see the Tua that we thought we were going to see coming out of the draft.
Yeah, I think this is part of the discussion that we've had for the Tuanons and the non-Tuanons that,
Right.
We kind of feel that, if you actually give him a running game and real coaching, that all of a sudden you will put him in a position like he had in Alabama, that he had the support staff that he needed in order to succeed. We were just talking about this. Like some guy was like, well, I'm not giving Trevor Lawrence a break if they don't give Tua a break. And I'm like, well, that's not the right attitude. That's not right. Neither guy got the support they needed. That's why they didn't play up
Exactly.
to, par. They have the talent. We watched them at a high level in college play at a high level. So it's not like these guys can't do it, but they're not going to be able to do it if you have a crappy environment around them. You know what I mean? It's like I've used the analogy before. So you're going to have a kid and not support your kid? Not love your kid?
Right.
I mean, give me a break, dude. You're gonna buy a dog or adopt a dog and just throw it in the corner and not give it any love? I mean, find out how those relationships are going to turn out without you, nurturing. Everything has to be nurtured, dude. Everything that you do. Your relationship with your wife or husband has to be nurtured. Your relationship with players has to be nurtured. Offense, defense, corporate level. You have to nurture sponsorships, people that you work with. Everything needs nurturing, dude. If there isn't anything and there's no connection, then nothing will grow. And I think at least now we can say they're actually going to do it the right way this time, and then we can all make the proper determination on where this young man stands.
Absolutely. I think there's value in them coming out and being very clear in their support, their confidence, their trust, their belief. Like, we dealt with it all last year of the vagueness of, are we going to get DeShaun Watson? Are we not? What's the situation with Tua long term? What's your belief in him? I think they wanted to make it very clear. They've leaked, through what came out in the media, and then what Mike McDaniel said in recent weeks, and then even Chris Greer, this week speaking with reporters and saying, "Hey, the door's shut on DeShaun." Like, I think that was something that we probably thought based on how they said it, with Tua, but saying it clearly, like putting the words on paper and going on record with that, that's something that I think will help Tua. Like I know for a fact, talking to people in his camp, they felt like it impacted him last year, and we thought that, but to hear it actually, the reality, like, hey, we listen to this stuff, and he listens
Bro,
to this
look
stuff.
at look at his face at the end of the year in press conferences with you
Exactly.
guys. He
Exactly.
was
And
already serious. His hair was almost like disheveled and stuff.
yeah,
He wasn't the guy that was happy-go-lucky wearing what's it called? This guy's jersey, a Fitz's jersey,
right,
joking
right.
around with you guys, all that.
Yeah.
He was
It's
he was
exhausting.
worn out, dude, by
Yeah,
the end of the year.
it's exhausting. And I guess for context for people, because I know Flores and his team, they always had like, hey, the ignore the noise. That was the narrative there. Once 1 minute, that was a narrative there. And so because of yes, 1 minute, please.
He's doing an interview. Leave him alone. Let him finish the interview.
Because that was the narrative there about ignoring the noise. That's the coach mindset. But for Tua, you walk in a building and TVs are on in the cafeteria, and whether it's ESPN or us on NFL Network, every day you hear, are the Dolphins trading for DeShaun Watson? Dolphins are front runners of DeShaun Watson. And if you look at the stats, whether it's Tua stats, whether it's the team stats, 1-7 before the trade deadline, 8-1 after the trade deadline, it's a clear difference. So I think that you're going to see a more confident and trusting Tua. And so, Chris was asked the question, Chris Greer, can he be elite? I'm not sure if he can be elite or not, but you know what? We're going to see the best chance of it, with a team that puts him in the system to do that, and a team that believes in him. So I'm looking forward to, like, I rarely get excited about OTAs and minicamp, but I am looking forward to seeing some of these early elements of what the offense looks like around Tua, and really what Tua looks like. I know he's already started working out this offseason. And so year 3, you have the freedom of mind, no Watson, no trade. This is your team. What type of jump does he make personally? And then what type of jump does Mike McDaniel and his staff help him get as far as coaching?
All right, I'm going to ask a multi-layered question because it is kind of a screwed up situation and whole thing. But now it's the past, obviously. Now it's become the past. But still, the elements involved in all of this. So I want to know what you're thinking, because this is something that kind of plays with me a little bit and a lot of Dolphin fans. So you saw when you talked to him just a couple days ago, Chris Greer put the kibosh on it and said, Watson's story is dead. We're not going with it.
Right.
Okay, so now, was this all driven by Flo, that he was forcing the issue? Because if there was real need by Watson, by other people in the building, then why wouldn't that still be alive? And why would if the owner really badly wanted Watson, why would he change his mind now all of a sudden and just let them have their way and say, okay, no, you guys, want to, and you want to build around it, I'm with you guys. I understand. Okay, the Watson thing's in the past. So how do we look at this? And then the other side of it, and it's kind of what we just talked about a little bit, is did they just say, all right, listen, let's put this Watson stuff aside. Maybe Greer wanted him. Maybe the owner wanted him. Maybe Flo also wanted him, right? But they said, hey, look, man, we're going to keep polluting the waters. This guy's got a bunch of legal issues. We can't get him anyway, right? Plus, they're going to ask for so much. We can't have this shit over his head again. So let's go get our coach and let's commit to Tua, and let's do it publicly, so that way everything's out there and the kid's focused and we can get the best out of the kid and we don't deal with this situation anymore. So how do we look at it? Was it driven by Flo? Was it driven by everybody? But now that Flo's gone, they're going to say, well, we're going to go in this direction because of the legal issues. Or was it that these guys really never wanted Watson? They really wanted to focus on Tua, but the head coach is the guy that still won't admit to this day that he never wanted Tua. You know what I'm saying? Which that to me is where Flo loses all credibility, because it's so obvious he never wanted Tua, and he still won't even admit that. But how do you look at this whole mess after you saw Chris Grier put the kibosh on the whole Watson story?
So, Big O, there's a few things I've learned like over the last month or two. One thing is that obviously Flo did want Watson. That was a priority of him. He was one of the main people who was driving that train. But I also know that he wasn't the only person in that building who wanted Watson. So a lot of times, like you mentioned, there is a little bit of revisionist history. You know, you want to say, hey, oh, it's Flo. Flo definitely wanted Watson, but he wasn't the only one. They were going to make a decision like Watson without everybody and at least most people in that building on board. So there has been a change in narrative, and I thought it was interesting hearing Chris Grier talk. He kept talking about how Mike. We asked him why, why are you out on Watson now? Why Tua now? And his reasoning was Mike McDaniel looked at the tape and feels like we can maximize Tua. So it was interesting that he talked about how the head coach's perspective may have had an influence on their perspective. Now, I do know in the interview process, they were pretty clear with candidates that they wanted to keep Tua and they wanted to keep their defensive coordinator led by Josh Boyer. Those were two things that they were very clear and transparent about. So, whether it was Chris Grier, whether it was Steve Ross, they had some sort of conversation before they went about the coaching process and said, hey, we decided that we're going to go all in on Tua in year 3. So I don't even know if it's as much the uncertainty with the legal situation as much as them saying, hey, look, we're going to try to maximize this kid. We drafted him with the 5th overall pick, and they changed their mind. So Flo definitely being gone is a big part of why Watson is not here and won't be here. But he if you say, hey, Flo is the only person who wanted Watson, you have a naive view of that building.
All right. And was it both the owner and Grier, or what's your hunch tell you it was only the owner, it was only Grier, or was it everybody?
I think there was different levels of desire based on whether it was the owner, Grier, Flo. I think Flo was high in that spectrum. I think Steve Ross, the interesting part about Steve Ross is and it could be a positive or a negative, but he listens to people around him. So based on maybe who's communicating with him and who he trusts at a particular time, that may be his view on Watson or Tua. So I would, from what I kind of understand, maybe Ross's view have evolved over time. Like maybe at one point he was like, hey, let's go get Watson. And now he's fully on the Tua brigade. So I think that when you look at this Dolphins team, they decided we got to be united in what we are. So they're putting out this front, that Tua is the guy. But I will tell you, I think that the part they're not saying is he's the guy in 2022. I don't think they're committing long term yet because they want to see. So although you're not going to see Watson here, you're not going to see Russell Wilson. I also think there is some pressure on Tua this year to be the guy, because if not, then I could definitely see them back in the quarterback market next year.
No, I mean, listen, this is the ultimate break for him. They fired the coach for him, and they went and got a guy that, those of us that argue for Tua say, dude, give him a running game and an offensive line, and you'll see a different quarterback. Well, this is the coach that supposedly knows the running game and offensive line and all that. So this is the panacea to the problem, right?
Yeah.
All right, let's fix it. And if it's fixed, then the other thing is supposed to fall into place, which is Tua and the offense. So if that happens, then we all know that the puzzles and the pieces fell together. And if they don't, and you are running and you are blocking, but the quarterback isn't doing his part, then we all got our answer. And us chewing on people will then be, we have to admit we're wrong on this one. We have to say, hey, the kid's not the guy. So we'll see. I mean, they did what they needed to do now in order to find out if you have a quarterback or not.
Mm-hmm.
So
indeed,
now it's time to find out. It's time to find out.
That's what this season will be about. Is Tua the guy or is he not?
Who's the free agents you're afraid will not make it and will not be back? Key free agents.
Yeah, I think they're going to have an interesting conversation about Mike Gesicki. I think that he either gets the franchise tag or he's gone. I think that Chris Grier's, made clear they're not really close on a long-term extension. So, and I do think there would be some wait and see period as far as if he's a fit in this system. So I think they're going to have an interesting decision. It's $11 million for that franchise tag, so it's not expensive, but this is supposed to be a really robust tight end market. So I think there's going to be this could go down to the deadline. I think he's the only option. They won't put the franchise tag on Agba, but they could put it on Gesicki. And so, do you let him test the market and see if you can get him back, or do you just put the franchise tag to make sure you conclude him? So I think that's going to be the big one to watch. Emmanuel Agba obviously is the other one. They are closer. From what I understand, Agba wants a little bit, closer to maybe Trey Hendrickson money last year. What he got last year, which was like, $15 million a year, something in that range. And it's a tough conversation with Agba because I think he's a really good player. He's a good person. He's got 9 sacks in back-to-back years. Is he a true number one pass rusher? Probably not. He's probably more of a good number two. What do you pay a really good number two? And as always, in free agency, those numbers get expedited. Good players
the only
pay
problem
like great players.
The only problem I have is we can't measure him only with the sacks. We got to give him a lot of credit for the pressures and the batted passes, dude.
And he's a good run defender too. And he's a good fit
actually
there.
Does a good job there.
And so that's a really good point, though. And for a team that runs as much man coverage as they do, and like I've told you guys before, I think they want to run even more man coverage this year. You got to have pass rush. So Jalen Phillips was a nice pick, but he can't be the only one. You need another guy consistently on that edge. So if it's not Agba, it's got to be someone else. So I think that there is going to be they really want Agba back. It's going to be interesting to see Drew Rosenhaus as his agent, how pressed Agba is in his team to seeing what is out there on their market. Because, like I said, they're not going to franchise tag him. I don't know if the Dolphins go to 15. So if they're trying to wait out for that, do they test the market and then come back to the Dolphins, or can they get something done before free agency? I think those are the two main ones, obviously, to watch. But one other thing, I'll kind of let you jump in after this, but I expect them to have some turnover from guys who are not free agents. I think they'll redo some of that wide receiver room. Devontae Parker is going to be a very interesting question for them because he's a guy who's had trouble staying healthy. He's been here for forever. But do you bring him back?
Or you gone? Take less or you gone?
And he doesn't even have a big contract, but I think that Michael McDaniel is going to have to see how he fits in the scheme. He's a slower kind of possession jump ball receiver. I'm not sure how many they want of those on this team. And if you're keeping Mike Gesicki, I don't know if that you bring Devontae Parker back. It may be one or the other.
Point.
And Preston Williams is another guy that I don't think they tender him. So you're looking at a complete overhaul in that room. Mac Hollins probably comes back if they can get him on a good deal. Jalen Waddle's obviously there, but I don't know if there's anybody else in that receiving room. Lynn Bowden's under contract, but there's anybody proven in that receiving room that you say for sure is back next year. So you might be looking at getting 2 or 3 more receivers between free agency and draft.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. One more thing before I let you go. He said all the right things with X, but he still kind of left it open that, we're going to try to work out a deal. My anticipation is that he's going to be here. I'm kind of paraphrasing the way Chris Greer phrased it, but he did leave himself open. But it does seem like there's a little more dialogue. And what I don't see, what I saw last time was I'm not seeing a publicly bitter player right now sending messages and things like that. So that might tell me that maybe Cantor and the front office, maybe there's some understanding and there's some kind of progress, let's just say.
There has been progress, and I think they've had a lot of conversations about it. They really want X to be there. He was a part of the process when they brought in Sam Madison and Patrick Surtain after GA and Charles Burks left. So I think they want X to be a part of that picture now. It was interesting to hear Greer say that, hey, we made a promise to him, and so we're going to kind of live up to that. That to me sort of gives the leverage back to X and his team. If you've said publicly, hey, we're going to give him this, now X's team can ask for the world. So
Chris is not a bullshitter.
He's not.
I mean,
Chris, and what he says is what he means.
If he actually told you something, he's a pretty stand-up guy from his reputation.
Exactly.
So
and I appreciate him being straightforward, but I also wonder how much that shifts the leverage because what's one thing if you're saying, hey, I'm gonna give X a few more million. He's set to make 13.7 this year, which is like I think sixth or seventh among corners. But the top of the market is Jalen Ramsey, Marshawn Lattimore getting 2022. So is he aiming for that? I think I know for a fact he's aiming for those numbers. He would like to get $20+ million a year on a new deal. So is that something the Dolphins are amenable for? Or are they thinking more?
What's Byron Jones making? What's Byron Jones
is making a tad under 15 this year.
Okay, so he'll make around 17, 18, I bet you.
And so that
he ain't gonna make Ramsey, but he'll make a couple more than Byron, and then that's it, and he'll be happy.
Right, and that might be the middle ground. So does X and his team want to take that, or do they push? So I don't think we're fully there yet, but I think the conversation, like you mentioned, of whether it ends up 17, 18, or if it's closer to 2022, is probably where they're at this point.
Yeah, and I think because we're not hearing any animosity or anything, and no social media posts or anything like that, I think there's already been some numbers thrown around, and they're kind of in the ballpark already. So that's why I think, why stir anything up now? We're really close. Let's not screw it up. We'll be fine. And supposedly, from what I've been told, X actually likes it in South Florida. Like he likes being in South Florida. Yeah. So that's a positive for the Dolphins too. At least that's what I'm told. I don't know. Tell me.
Indeed.
All right. Good stuff. By the way, how about your teammate joining this team on Wednesdays now? How about that?
Absolutely. I just ran into Ian a bunch here in Indy at the Combine. So that will be fun. We're taking over the landscape, Big O. Bringing all the big guns here, having the best content and reporters here on the show. So Ian will bring some really good content, and I'm excited to get my teammate here on the team we're building down here.
I've known Ian for over 15 years when he was with the Dallas Morning News, when he was a Cowboy insider. Right. And then obviously he became, the bomb now with you on the NFL Network. And so I've known him for a long time. He's a really, really good dude. And so we're not stopping there. We're maybe adding some other national insiders and other sports coming up. So that's the next step. We're already dominating locally, right? So now we got to add a couple on the national side to kind of complete the entire thing. That way the listener, Cam, gets every day, dude. They got an insider for the Heat. They're going to have an insider for the Heat, and they're going to have an insider for the Dolphins or two. So every day they tune in, dude, they know that this show is going to bring it for them every single time. And nobody does this. So
absolutely. 100%.
You're going to bring it. Appreciate you, man. Safe travels, because obviously they're about to kick your ass out of there. So safe travels.
Yeah. Next thing I know, I'm going to get security coming here. They told me I got until 1 in the room, and I guess 1 now, so they came a little early. So
bro.
If you don't hear from me in a couple of days, security came and kicked me out, and
scream at them, tell them I'm half Cuban, and then they'll understand that like we're really late for everything. So he's Cuban, check out for him is 2:45, not 1 o'clock. That's it. All right, Cam, much love, brother. Appreciate you.
All right, appreciate you, my man.
You got it. There you go, baby. Cameron Wolfe and our Fort Lauderdale Police Department, Miami Dolphins, and NFL report.